are now providing under this EMAX system support. So we've got the resources, but we have more important we have the winds that have changed, and that allows us to be more resourceful with existing resources, particularly the aerial resources.
In your opinion, is this or will it be the worst natural disaster in the history of the United States?
I think it will be in terms of just the costs associated with it. In terms of the scale and scope, I'll only remind the folks in California, with the Tubbs fire, 5,600 houses were lost, and of course Camp Fire, we had 18,000 housing units lost, and 85 people that lost their lives. Currently, we're getting confirmation from the coroner, so we always have to be careful on the death toll, but it's in the 13 range, and I've got search and rescue teams out, we've got cadaver dogs out, and there's likely to be a lot more.
What is your biggest concern over the course of the next 48 hours?
I think is making sure the life safety focus, the property focus is there, at the same time we're addressing the perimeter issues. The challenge is the winds. We've got these winds coming back this evening, Sunday night. We've got peak winds on Monday. We're going to see 50-plus mile-an-hour gusts, subject to change. So now we're pre-positioning assets, and we're pre-positioning them not just here in the theater, those existing 5+ fires, but now broadening that to a number of other counties and moving farther south with some of those resources in anticipation we could see some flare-ups in new places, new starts.
You're here with us on Meet the Press to announce a new executive order. What is this executive order? What are you hoping to accomplish?
Look, we've got to be thinking 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years ahead. At the same time, we're focusing on the immediacy, which is life safety and property. And so that's exactly what we're doing with disaster assistance, making sure people are getting their applications, addressing the issue of fraud, and that's an issue we've got to address. Price gouging, so executive orders on price gouging, recovery. We want to get inspections, units like this. We want to get our inspection teams out here. They're already starting to get out here. We've come up with some timelines so we can get within the next few weeks all that done so people can get their insurance claims. We can then start the big contracts to remove the debris, to address all the hazmat issues. Same time as I got to button up the canyons here as it relates to potential flooding with a lot of atmospheric rivers. Remember, we're in the middle of winter. This is January. In fact, the day of this fire, not a stone's throw away, as the crow flies, there was snow right up the mountain here, the same day as this devastating fire here in Altadena. And so all those things have to happen concurrently. But here's the big thing. I'm worried about issues of rebuilding as it relates to scarcity, as it relates to property taxes, meaning scarcity of resources, materials, personnel. I'm worried about time to getting these projects done. And so we want to fast track by eliminating any CEQA requirements. I've got Coastal Act changes that we're making. I want to make sure when someone rebuilds that they have their old property tax assessments and that they're not increased. So all of that's been done in the executive order we just announced.
CEQA, Governor, and the Coastal Act are both environmental regulations. And if you're going to be suspending those temporarily, are you concerned about problems that may result from the suspension of those environmental regulations and a potential abuse by developers?
Yeah, we're not going to, and within this executive order, we frame those abuses. We basically bookmark that in the context of maintaining the existing footprints. On the Coastal Act, they allow just a 10% variant, so we're going to be very mindful of that. California leads the nation in environmental stewardship. I'm not going to give that up, but one thing I won't give into is delay. Delay is denial for people. Lives, traditions, places, torn apart, torn asunder, families, schools, community centers, churches, you've seen it. The number of schools that have been lost in this community, and we've got to let people know we have their back. We're going to be back. We're going to do it efficiently and effectively. Don't turn your back. Don't walk away because we want you to come back, rebuild, and rebuild with higher quality building standards, more modern standards. And we want to make sure that the associated costs with that are not disproportionate, especially in a middle-class community like this.
You've also called for an independent investigation into the issues around water supply that we've seen. What are the questions that you're hoping to answer?
The same ones you're asking, same ones that people when I'm in the streets are asking, yelling about. What the hell happened? What happened to the water system? Was it, and by the way, was it just overwhelmed that you had so much that was used. We drew it down. Was it pipes? Was it electricity? It was a combination of pipes, electricities, and pumps. What was that drawdown? Impossible, because you lost 7,000+ structures right here anyway, and every single structure we lost had a pipe that was leaking, and we'd have lost that water pressure anyway. Did it contribute in any way to our inability to fight the fire, or were 99-mile-an-hour winds determinative, and there was really no firefight that could have been more meaningful? So all of us want to know those answers, and I just don't want to wait, because people are asking me. I want to know those facts. I want them objectively determined, and that the chips fall where they may. This is not about finger pointing.
You say what to people who insist that these independent investigations or calls for them? Are you passing the blame on to other people?
How could it be when we're doing an independent investigation and we just want the adjudication of the facts? As I say, it's not about finger pointing. It's about answering the questions you and everybody wants answered. And I think there's a propensity to wait to answer those questions, and people want immediacy. They want response and responsiveness, and so that's the idea.
Ultimately here, does the buck stop with you?
I mean, you're governor of California. You might as well be the mayor of California. We're all in this together. We're all better off. We're all better off. We're all better off, and we're working together to take care of people and to make sure people are supported. We're empathetic, and we're here not just in the immediacy of the crisis, but we're here after the crisis, as opposed to creating a crisis in the middle of this by trying to divide people and play political. Take cheap political shots.
Do you have faith in Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass?
I have absolute faith in our community. I have faith in our leaders. I have the faith of our capacity to work together.
President-elect Trump has blamed you for this crisis. He called you incompetent. What's your response?
Well, I called for him to come out, take a look for himself. We want to do it in the spirit of an open hand, not a closed fist. He's the president-elect. I respect the office. We have a president of the United States that within 36 hours provided a major disaster declaration over a text. We had support from the president of the United States, Joe Biden, with 100% reimbursement, all the resources you could hope for or imagine, constant communication. I'd like to extend that to the president-elect. I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt and reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full. The state reservoirs here in Southern California. That mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us. Responding to Donald Trump's insults, we would spend another month. I'm very familiar with them. Every elected official that he disagrees with, very familiar with them.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation, to understand what was happening with that local reservoir. That was not a state system reservoir, which the president-elect was referring to as it relates to the Delta and somehow connecting the Delta smelt to this fire, which is inexcusable because it's inaccurate, also incomprehensible to anyone that understands water policy in the state.
My understanding is that you have put a call into President-elect Trump. Has he called you back?
No, that was months ago. That was after his victory. So I look forward to him, again, coming out here in the spirit of cooperation.
Forgive me for interrupting you, but you did invite him to come out here. Have you had any response?
No.
Nothing. Multiple times, Mr. Trump has threatened to withhold aid for California wildfires, both as president and now again as president-elect. Are you worried that he might actually do that?
Well, I mean, he's done it to Utah, he's done it to Michigan, did it to Puerto Rico. He did it to California back before I was even governor in 2018, until he found out folks in Orange County voted for him, and then he decided to give the money. So he's been at this for years and years and years. It transcends states, including, by the way, Georgia. He threatened similarly. So that's his style. And you know, we take it seriously to the extent that in the past, it's taken a little bit more time. I've been pretty expressive about that in the context of someone threatening our first responders in terms of supporting the immediacy of their needs.
So that's what you take it as, that President-elect Trump is threatening the first responders here.
Well, I mean, it's what he said. He said, I'm not going to support the firefighting efforts. I'm not going to support the state of California as it relates to its emergency management. He made this pretty clear during the election, unless they do my bidding. And again, these are familiar terms, and they're familiar to a lot of other states, not just my state, and they're familiar to not just me as governor, but the previous governor of California, Governor Brown, that was battling with these same things. So you just work through these things, and I'm just blessed. I mean this. I'm blessed. I have 40 million Americans that happen to live in California, that Joe Biden's president of the United States and did what he did immediately. And to the extent that we can work with the same relationship and that same spirit with Donald Trump, I hope we can.
The last time I saw you in the Palisades on Wednesday, right after this fire started, you were on the phone at the side of the road trying to reach President Biden. Subsequent to that, he pledged 100% of the disaster recovery relief for the next 6 months. Is that enough?
Well, it's significant. I mean, in fact, when I was on the phone, you saw me on the phone, I was trying to get the satellite phone work. I asked for 90%. And he said, no, I'm going to do 100%. It was a big deal. 180 days is a big deal. But he also had just provided the major disaster declaration, and we did the press conference the next day. And that is profoundly significant because that's individual assistance, disasterassistance.gov. People should go to disasterassistance.gov and start filling out applications, get that immediate relief, and then get longer and medium-term relief. But no, he stepped up in a way that an American president should step up, and I couldn't be more proud of him. That's not a political statement. That's not because I'm a Democrat saying that. That's because I'm a human being trying to help other human beings in the most extreme elements in the most difficult time of their life.
Some of these Californians in homes that burnt like this were thrown off of their policies, their fire policies, before this fire season. What do you say to those Californians?
No, it breaks your heart. I mean, this is an issue, and by the way, persists in California because of the acuity of the new realities. Hot's getting hotter, dry's getting drier, wet's getting wetter, these atmospheric rivers, all the flooding that we've experienced in California, but also across the rest of the United States. You're seeing insurance rates through the roof, et cetera. But here's the point. We've been proactive in trying to stabilize that market. That was the executive order a year and a half ago. Insurance commissioner has been moving in that direction. I'll give you a proof point of some of the success of that. Just a week ago, when a major insurer announced they were reinsuring in Paradise, California, where the Camp Fire was, because people repopulated. Farmers said they were coming back. So we're very mindful of that. And that's why the FAIR plan is that backup plan. But I'm also mindful of this as someone on the FAIR plan, intimately aware of how it works. It's not the kind of insurance that you get on the private sector, meaning you're not getting as much in terms of that protection.
Over the course of the next several years, Los Angeles will be host to the World Cup, and then the Super Bowl, and then the Olympics. With this rebuilding effort needing to take place, is LA going to be ready for all of those global events?
My humble position, and it's not just being naively optimistic, that only reinforces the imperative moving quickly, doing it in the spirit of collaboration and cooperation. President of the United States, Donald Trump, to his credit, was helpful in getting the Olympics to the United States of America, to get it down here in LA. We thank him for that. This is an opportunity for him to shine, for this country to shine, for California and this community to shine. The opportunity with all of that and all that opportunity and that pride and spirit that comes from not just hosting those three iconic games and venues, but also the opportunity, I think, to rebuild at the same time. And that's why we're already organizing a Marshall Plan. We already have a team looking and reimagining LA 2.0, and we're making sure everyone's included, not just the folks on the coast, people here that were ravaged by this disaster.
You just said you're organizing a Marshall Plan for the rebuilding of California. What is that Marshall Plan? Tell us about this Marshall Plan.
We're just starting to lay out. I mean, we're still fighting these fires, so we're already talking to city leaders. We're already talking to civic leaders. We're already talking to business leaders and nonprofits. We're talking to labor leaders. We're starting to organize how we can put together a collection of individuals on philanthropy for recovery, how we can organize the region, how we can make sure that we are seeking federal assistance for the Olympics more broadly, but also federal assistance for the recovery efforts, and how we can galvanize the community with folks that love this community to really develop a mindset so that at scale we're dealing with the scope of this tragedy and responding to it at scale with efficiency, like the executive order I talked about, time value of delivering projects, addressing building codes, addressing permitting issues, and moving forward to rebuilding and being more resilient.